RDJ fights in MCU to get back Iron Man. Hey guys, welcome back to CelebCraze. Today, we're displaying to you how RDJ fights in the MCU to get back Iron Man. Before we set in motion, ensure to enroll in our channel and hit the notification bell icon to in no way omit videos. Here we begin. Robert Downey Jr. Tony Stark embarked on the Marvel Cinematic Universe while he first became Iron Man on screen, matters again in 2008. Now, some of these years later, RDJ is ready to enroll in the relaxation of the MCU with inside the occasion. This is Avengers Infinity War. However, the street to war hasn't been clean for Iron Man. RDJ performs Tony Stark as a continually calm and imperturbable character. That's where Marvel's MCU glitters. This takes sense extra genuine in those movies, and that's due to the fact Marvel has carried out a lot of fulfillment with its cinematic universe, properly past what different studios had been in a position to drag off. Marvel took lesser acknowledged heroes and turned them into stars to make former Batman and Spider-Man characters fade through comparison. And Marvel created such a lot of interconnected testimonies, which are all on converging paths, with such a lot of characters accessible in masses of Marvel comics, fabric to paintings with. Marvel greatly surprised the audiences while it killed one half of the Avengers. The characters stayed lifeless for 5 years in that timeline, and bringing them again might require extra sacrifices. But all the glitters is not gold. When Iron Man, which started this entire shebang, went into production, the targets of the makers have been in large part constrained to make a perfect comedian ebook movie. Everything else, the Avengers, Thanos, and what we got here later, have been, however, a dream with inside the eyes of Kevin Feige. So aside from having to conflict a rugged lineup of lethal and maniacal villains, a lot of his creation, Tony Stark has additionally had extra fights together along with his fellow superheroes than every other with inside the MCU. Now, almost every person has the same opinion that the most significant motive the movie labored is because of Robert Downey Jr. with inside the lead role. This actor has to grow to be synonymous with his MCU role, but they are casting him to become no longer accessible. Director Jon Favreau's choice. The actor became no longer famous at that time, not due to loss of talent, in line with secondary sources, however, as a substitute due to his records with pills and alcohol. Director Jon Favreau stated in a Rolling Stone interview that Marvel flat out refused to rent Robert Downey Jr. Marvel's reaction became that not at all are we organized to rent him for any price. An interview said as far as RDJ is concerned, he is willing to hang up his weapons, and he is exact to permit it to go. He additionally assumed Marvel is in this adventure now, and they're attempting a gaggle of different stuff, and he is excited for them to see how all that goes, as it is tough to predict. Like many different actors, it's difficult to assume each person else within inside the role. So absolutely Downey went directly to subsume himself with inside the part, and as Favreau said, the arc of Downey and Tony Stark toward redemption turned into eerily similar. Iron Man went directly to a supercalifragilisticexpialidocious gross of $585 million worldwide. It can also additionally super an impressive proper now with the aid of using MCU standards. However, it turned into a huge deal again then. It made sure the MCU stayed afloat, and now it dominates the famous image. We've heard that Marvel may need to carry returned Iron Man and the authentic Cap in Destiny tales, and we've visible rumors explaining the approaches it could be executed without ruining Endgame's legacy. While we don't have any affirmation of the matter, Kevin Feige's modern remarks about Loki nearly verify that Marvel can return those characters whenever it desires to with ease. This line of wondering confirms that Marvel can bring return fan favorite characters whenever it needs, together with Iron Man, Captain America, and Black Widow, and it could do all of it without ruining Endgame. Furthermore, Feige dropped a critical quote that similarly underscores Marvel's capacity to do anything it needs inside the MCU going forward without destroying the preceding tales. Part of the fun of the multi-universe and gambling with time is seeing different variations of characters and different interpretations of the titular individual in particular. Feige said, "That's going to be something we'll recollect the deeper we move into Phase 4, especially with rumors persevering with this world that propose RDJ and Evans may seem in Destiny MCU stories." While Downey Jr.'s time as a mainstay within the MCU can be over, it's tough to consider Marvel won't recast the function of Iron Man in a few abilities down the road. Whether that be through the multi-universe or an immediately up reboot is unknown, but there's an excessive amount of cash to be made for the individual to put dormant for too long. So, this was how RDJ fights into MCU to get back Iron Man. Let's see whether the craving of the fans for RDJ will be satisfied or not. Will MCU bring back RDJ? If yes, then how? And if no, then why? For more updates, stay tuned and subscribe for more.